Have you ever asked ChatGPT something and the reply was like, that's not what I mean? Sometimes the model needs hint, and how many hints we give it, zero, few, or step by step reasoning can make all the differences in what it replies. So welcome to this video on types of prompting. We'll understand three super important techniques: a zero shot prompt, a few shot, and a chain of thought prompting. So let's just start with a very basic one, which is a zero shot prompting. So here you simply give the model a task, without giving any example. So that's where the zero shot prompting comes across. So for example, you know you ask it to translate this to English, right? And then you give you know a topic, right? So for example, I'm just writing translate this to English, and I'm like, sawa, you know, probably in French, right? And this the model has never seen your input before, but it understands that the task from the instruction only. This is fast and easy, but the model can sometimes make mistakes, especially if the instruction is unclear or the task is complex, right? So now, talking about the second type of prompting, which is a few shot prompting, right? Few shot prompting, right? Now imagine you are training a new intern in your office. If you just say make a report, that's like a zero shot. But if you show 2 3 sample reports first, the intern gets it right. Same with LLMs. That's called few shot prompting. So for example, translate translate French to English. And then you write, uh, bonjour, right? And you say, hey, look, bonjour means hello, right? And then you give him more such information. So for example, ça va, how are you? And then you ask some question. Now the model has a pattern to follow. This increases accuracy, especially in the classification, translation, and the formatting time. The downside, it takes more token, which may increase cost and slow down things. Then comes across the chain of thought prompting, right? And we call it as a COT as well. Now let's take it up one notch up. Some problems are not just output based; they just need reasoning, and that's where chain of thought prompting shines. Here we ask the model to explain its reasoning step by step before giving the final answer. So, for example, if a train leaves at 10 a.m. And travels at 60 km per hour, how far will it travel by 1 kilometer by 1 p.m.? Let's think it step by step. The model might reply, right? A time in 3 hours, a speed, 60 kilometer per hour distance, something like this, and then it goes on. That's chain of thought. So let's do just run through the chain of thought problem into our model and ask it a question. So I'm just going to go, if a train you know leaves Delhi at 10 a.m. and travels at 60 kilometer per hour, how far will it travel by 1 p.m.? Right. So the model, as you can see, like model is basically generating the thing like, hey, look, the start time, the end time, the duration, speed, and based upon that, it's finally calculated the value would be 180. And this is exactly what's the chain of thought. So the model is thinking like a human. This is super useful for logic problems, the math problems, the interview prep, reasoning tasks. You can even say think step by step before you answer. Let's solve this, like a school teacher. Break the problem into a smaller parts, right? And this guides the model to slow down and reason before answering. So when should you use which method? I mean, the very simple example is like zero shot. You know, there's no example, just instruction. So if you want to do a simple task like translation, summarization, that's where the zero shot prompting comes in. Few shot when you want to add some few examples when the consistency is important, like a formatting tone, like formatting tone and stuff like that. A chain of thought asks model to reason step by step, complex reasoning, math, multi-step logic, and that's where you get a chain of thought. So you can basically combine few shot plus chain of thought for advanced prompting, for and that's basically going to give you some real questions altogether. Now, let's try to take this an example, right? Imagine teaching a kid how to make a chai. Okay, so zero shot prompting would be where you just write, "Hey, make tea." Now, if you just ask "make tea," the guy is basically going to get confused. The kid is definitely going to get confused. But and then I'm assuming that kid has no idea about making a tea. But if you give him an instruction like, hey, first boil water, then add tea leaves, then milk, then sugar, right? Now, when you ask it, this is like an example of a few shot. A chain of thought would look like, let's think step by step. What do we need? First, boil water, right? Then add tea leaves, right? And so on and so forth. Now, if you see the difference, same with LLMs, right? When you show steps, the model behaves, better. So that's it. Three powerful prompting styles you can start using right now: zero shot for quick tasks, few shot for reliable structure, chain of thought for reasoning and logic. In the next video, we'll talk about something very super exciting. So, how LLM can not only think about act with React prompt, with React prompting. So, let's go build powerful prompts. See you in the next one.